Hi, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation on foster training for rescue treasures pet adoption. Whether you're new or you've been doing this for years, I hope you can find this presentation to be valuable. First, let's talk about the Foster Welcome Packet. This is a packet of information that contains a lot of forms and processes, as well as contact information that could be useful for you. You can always find this welcome packet. If you don't actually have a hard copy of it, you can go and download it. There are two places, or there's actually one place you can get it from. There are two ways you can get to this page. One would be from our Foster Resources webpage. This would be going to our typical website, which is rescue-treasure.com, and if you add in the /fosters, this will take you to the secret page in our website. So if I were to go to rescue-treasure.com and I type in fosters, you'll see that this will load this page that has the information for all of our fosters. Give my computer a second to load this page here. And there it is. And you can see the link that I'm talking about to get that welcome packet is right here. And you can click on that and that will download the site for you, or the packet for you. The other way you can get to this page here is from our Facebook group. We have a secret Facebook group called RTPA Fosters. And from this, if you are using a computer with a web browser on your computer on Facebook, over here you'll see underneath the banner headline, there's a bunch of member information, and there's actually a link right underneath description that will take you right back to this Fosters page here. If you are using an app, the Facebook app on your smartphone, to get to this site here is a little bit different. What you have to do is on your smartphone app, once you load in the page, the group, the RTPA group, what you'll have to do is make sure you tap on the RTPA Fosters, and that's going to take you to a new screen, which will be coming up right here. And you can see that there is that link right here. That's the rescue-treasure.com Fosters, and that's going to take you right to this page here. And I have a little bit of a screenshot in here to help remind you how you would get there. So this is right here underneath the web page if you are using a desktop computer, or if you're using a smartphone Facebook app, you will need to click on the RTPA Fosters. That's going to load in a new screen and give you that link that you need there. On that Fosters page here, if you click on the appropriate group of animals, let's say I'm going to go into the cat foster page, you'll see that there's a bunch of information all right in here, and there's all kinds of different forms and packets in here. That these are just examples of the different kinds of forms in here. So right here on the left side, I'm seeing a cat foster checklist, which is all the information such as what kind of medicine, vaccination that I need to make sure that the kitten's going to get, what I need to do for health concern, what kind of medical processes I need to go through. Over here on the right side is the cat adoption contract. There is a medical form for our cat that we try to keep all the medical records in one place so that when we can keep on track to make sure all of our animals are appropriately vaccinated at the right age and that we have a record to show for it. And then what we're looking at here on this page is on the the front and back side of the owner release agreement. This is when when owners want to surrender their animals. We need to make sure that these owners fill this form out and sign and date that. This is extremely important. We need to make sure that we're protected in the sense that they give up the animals to us. And this is the form. Again, all of this information can be found on that website right in here. So talking about bringing in new animals, before you bring in any new animals, you must get approval first from an admin. And you must make sure you do this before you post any information about this in our group. And I have a list of all the names here. We got Scott Pizzingrilli for cats, Ann Wyan for any of the animals, doesn't matter, cat, dog, small animals. Nicole Farabee will help you with the dogs. So will Jessica Galante, Hannah Cliff for small animals, and Jennifer Everett for cats. And again, as I mentioned, if the animal is being surrendered, the owner must sign that release form to us. And that's the page that we were just looking at earlier. You can find that on our foster webpage. Once you receive that animal or animals, what you need to do is, in order for Rescue Treasures to be able to track and make sure that that animal is being vaccinated and going through all the necessary steps to be readopted out, you need to submit the onboarding form. This is another form that you can find on that foster's webpage. And then you can print out the adoption packet. Again, you can find this on the foster page. When you have an animal in your home, you are responsible to make sure that your animal is vetted correctly. You can always reach out to the admins like Nicole for dogs or Scott for cats with questions. They are there night and day to help you out. If they don't respond, you can always reach out to other admins. Everybody's always more than willing to help you out with answering your questions. There is no such thing as a stupid question. We've all been there. We all know what it's like to be starting out and trying to get up to speed on everything. You are responsible for providing all food and litter, leashes, whatever you want to use for your animals. You're the one you need to provide for that. Sometimes we do get donations, and if we do, those will be posted on that foster Facebook group, and you can ask for it or something like that where you can get them. However, what you are not responsible for is the cost for the setting. Any medicine that you have to give to your animal, any vaccination, any alters, all that, Rescue Treasures will take care of that. However, in order to make sure that that does happen, you do need to have an admin approve of those processes before scheduling anything. And what else you are responsible for is please try to socialize and train your foster animals as much as possible. This will only help them to be more desirable to adopters. So when we say socializing, that just means things like meeting other animals, young kids, other humans outside of your family. If you have a dog, you can take them out to events such as, or just going out to stores like Home Depot or Country Max, or go to the dog park, get them to meet other dogs and see how they interact with other dogs. This, not only will that help them to kind of normalize and be a good dog and whatnot, it'll also help you to observe their behavior and know what you can talk about when you are interviewing potential adopters to take this dog, to adopt a dog. And same thing with cats. So cats, you won't necessarily take them out to Country Max and Home Depot, that kind of stuff. But what you can do is if you have family members to come over into your house, and if you have other animals in your house, that will be a great way to get the cats feel more normalized with different kinds of situations, and that'll only help them to get adopted out. You also want to be making sure that you are training them with good behavior, such as good bathroom practices. Dogs, when they're meeting new people, not to jump on them, or how to play with other animals or other people and whatnot. It's just kind of try to raise them to be socially responsible animals, so to speak. Now, when we're talking about medical requests, spay and neuter requests, you do need to submit the routine medical request form. Again, this is found on that foster page, and you need to do this at least several weeks in advance. You can just send the one, if you have a litter of animals, you don't have to send a form for every single animal one at a time. You can send one form for all animals, but when you do that, please make sure that you are crystal clear as to the different names, age, and gender of each animal in that litter. You are responsible to make sure that the animal is up to date on their vaccines. I have included links right in here, which is rescuetreasure.com cats and rescuetreasure.com dogs, and that will give you the list of the vaccination that is necessary. So right in here, you can see that kittens and cats 16 weeks to a year should receive 2 vaccines 4 weeks apart. That's the distemper vaccine. Kittens should be receiving the vaccine at every 6 weeks, starting at 6 weeks old. They should be getting it about every 4 weeks until 16 weeks of age. Rabies, they need to have it 12 to 14 weeks. And adult cats receive a booster, distemper and a rabies booster if there's no proof of it. Any other health-related issue, please feel free to contact an admin immediately. If you cannot get a hold of one, there is a list of different admins. You can certainly move on to another admin. And you don't even have to be limited to the animal admin. So ideally, you want to start out, let's say with cats. If your cat is sick and you want to reach out, you can start with somebody like Scott. And Scott's not responding because, he's got a job or he's at an event or something like that. Go ahead and start contacting Jennifer Everett. If she's not also responding, then go ahead and you can contact people like Nicole or Ann or Cheryl or one of these other people in the admin group. Everybody will help each other out. One thing that we do really want to stress is do not bring your animal to the vet without approval and knowledge of an admin. This is extremely important. Once your animal is spayed or neutered, please let the admins know what their microchip number is. This is very important. We like to keep track of all the microchips records along with the animals in the case that an animal gets lost or surrendered or something down the road. At least we will be able to have some sort of a paper trail to trace it back to knowing, what kind of animal it is and their medical history and whatnot. When you are done with the spay and neuter and you do have this information, this is how you can send in that information. So you can email this to the Rescue Treasures Adoption at Gmail email address and just include the animal name and their microchip number. This is what the onboarding and the medical request, the routine medical request, not the emergency ones, forms would look like on the website. If I were to go back to here and I come up here, you can see I'm on the Cat Fosters page, and there's a routine medical request form. By clicking on that, that's going to take me to the medical form, and this is where I can start filling out this form and putting in all kinds of information based on what I need to have done for my foster cat. And there's one for the dogs as well from the dog foster page. That's the cat and that's the dog. If you need supplies, please contact Ann Wind if you need any of the following: flea medicine, dewormers. You do want to make sure that all flea medication is approved before you apply it to any animal. There are some brands out there that we do not like to use, so we want to make sure that we're using the right ones. Collar, leashes, clothing, doggy diapers, plastic carrier for cats or dogs. Sometimes we get donations of food, treats, toys, and beds, dog beds, cat beds, just animal, those furry, comfy beds. Just reach out to Ann Wind and just see if she has anything before you go out and spend your own money on getting some of those things. What you can expect when you're fostering for Rescue Treasures is that every week on Sunday on the Facebook Fosters group, a cat admin, usually is Scott, and a dog admin, usually is Nicole, will post in the group asking for updates. And they're looking for things on what's going on with your animal that you have. Are there any medical updates? Are there any adoption updates? Are there any concerns or questions that you have? Don't use this weekly post to wait to ask your question. Always feel free to ask a question at any time. That's what the Facebook group is there for. You can post a question in there, or you can contact one of the admins directly, either by email, phone, or texting. But this weekly update is important because this information that you share in here will be used to update the group spreadsheet spreadsheet that tracks all the information on our animals. When you are fostering, you may happen to have an animal that gets sick. I mean, we all get sick at some point, one way or another. But these are the signs that you might want to watch out for. So lethargic, if the animal is starting to sleep all the time, or they're just not as playful as they usually are, or they're just kind of sitting around but not moving around too much, that's a sign of illness, and you want to bring this to the attention of an admin as soon as you can. Same thing with a poor appetite, if they're not eating or drinking as much. And bathroom behavior is actually a really important thing to keep track of and just pay attention to. Things such as not peeing or pooping, or if they're excessively drinking and peeing as a result, or if they're struggling to go to the bathroom, if you see blood in the stool, or if they're doing inappropriate peeing or pooping behavior, please take the opportunity and reach out to an admin to find out what's going on and what can be done. Sometimes it may be things where it's, they're stressed out, or maybe it's not, and we need to take them into the vet. So it's always a good idea to keep an open line of communications with the admins. So here's an example. It's an emergency. What do I do? Oh my God, who do I call? Well, these are things such as what will be considered as an emergency. Respiratory distress, some sort of seizure without any kind of seizure history, bleeding that cannot be controlled with pressure, allergic reaction with respiratory distress, lethargy, continuous vomiting, severe hydration. You can do the pinch test on if you kind of pinch up an inch of their fur on the back of their neck, right behind their heads, and you just kind of pull it up, and then if you let go, if you watch the skin and the fur kind of settle back in, if it settles back in pretty quickly, they're pretty good. But if they're dehydrated, you'll see that it just kind of stays pulled up like a tent, and it doesn't settle back in nicely, and that's a sign of dehydration. Another sign of dehydration is if you look at the gum colors in their mouths, if they're not bright pink, but they're more rather gray or white, that is also a sign of dehydration. If you suspect broken bone, or if you suspect that they possibly ingested poisons or medication, that is an emergency. You need to call an admin right away. And what I have on the screen now is all the contact information. So the first line here is for cats. We got Scott and Jen. The second line here, we have Nicole or Ann for dogs. The next line here, small animals, contact Hannah Cliff. Cheryl Little, you can contact her for any of the animals. And again, like I mentioned earlier, if you do not get an answer from the person you call, you can call anyone on this list. Anyone on this list can improve your emergency care for any of animals at Rescue Treasures. Now, I decided to include this slide here because personally, when I started to foster, and I'm a cat foster, when I started to do this, I would often hear different kinds of names of medicines and whatnot, and I was so confused because there's just so many of them. Now I've got a handle on them, and I thought this would be a good kind of cheat sheet in a way. If you hear somebody talking about dewormers, there are 3 different kinds of medicines that we do use on a common basis, and that's Strongid, Panacur, Jontal. We've got flea preventatives that we use, which is Advantage, Therestro, Frontline, Revolution. We also use FastCap, Capstar, and the generic name for those 2 medicines is the Nitin Pyram, and that's the quick-acting flea medicine. We often will recommend using Blue Dawn dish soap when you're getting a flea bath, and you start from the bottom, like the back of their legs and their toes, and you work your way up with a fine-tooth comb with water and the dish soap all the way up to their neck. And you can actually start to see the fleas jump out as you're doing it. SVRCP is also known as distemper. That's the vaccine that we talk about. You have to give them a series of 3 every 3 or 4 weeks apart. There's a DHPP, that's for the dogs, distemper, adenovirus, parainfluenza, and parvo. Cats, we have seen that it's a common occurrence where we see they'll get Coccidia, which is something that when cats are starting to poop or have diarrhea and vomiting very often, that's a Coccidia, which is a parasite. and there's a medicine that we will give them, which is Baycos or Marquise paste. There's some diarrhea treatments that we will share and some eye drops that we will often do. So this is just kind of like a cheat sheet of what medicine is for what. We don't expect you to memorize them. It just helps you to be just more familiar and exposed to the names of the medicine so that you're not so caught unawares. All right, so when you want to advertise your pet, you need to market your animals to get them adopted. We have accounts with petfinder.com and adoptapet.com. What you want to do is you need to write up a small little bio, a biography of your animal, play up their adorable features. Think what would make you want to adopt this animal other than that they're cute and they're animals. But do they like to play fetch? Or are they cuddlers? Are they snugglers? Do they carry on conversations with you? Do they prefer strangers over you? Or, just kind of play up their personalities. You especially want to make sure that you mention how are they with other animals and how are they with young kids, because we often get families with young kids looking to adopt a new animal, and they want to know this. You also want to make sure that you send pictures, and please send pictures of the animal at the age that they are today. Don't send baby pictures if the animal is 3 years old. We want to advertise our animals realistically. So this is the animal that they see on the website is the animal that they're going to meet. The more information you share, the better. We do have you can post it to our public Facebook page. We do have the Rescue Treasure Facebook page where you can, it's not the secret group, but it's the open group, which is right here, which is just Rescue Treasure Pet Adoption. And you can certainly go in here and post a little video or post some pictures and include a link to the application page on our website and encourage our followers to adopt them out. When we had our most recent admin group meeting, or not admin, but it's like the internal Rescue Treasures meeting, somebody had mentioned that we have close to or maybe more than 10,000 people that follow our public page. So the exposure of advertising your animal on this page is tremendous. So you want to make sure that you post a little blurb here and there. You don't have to write an essay or anything like that, but just a cute little snippet just to try to catch people's attention. And they'll share those posts time and time and time again. We also, on a regular occasion, host different adoption events. The Petco in Irondequoit has an event every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., I believe it is. And this is in the cat room in the back corner of the room. You can certainly bring your cats there. There's PetSmart out in Greece. I believe they host regular events every other I think it's every other Sunday out in that store, and you can certainly bring your animals out there too. I believe there's a monthly event at Country Max that you can bring your dogs to. You can certainly just keep an eye on the calendar that's on our website, and all the adoption events are there as well. And it's also really good if you bring your animal to these adoption events, especially at Petco and PetSmart, because these stores will have their own, it's like a donation type of event where they can, if you have so many animals that gets adopted, or just simply having an event like a meet and greet, they don't have to naturally get adopted that day, but just meeting a potential adopter that actually does end out in an adoption. For every so many of them, these count tours like a tally, and PetSmart and Petco will keep track of them, and for every so many, they'll do a donation to Rescue Treasures, which help us in turn keep going with buying more supplies and items for our animals. We do have a steady roster of animals at the two stores, the PetSmart and at Petco in Irondequoit. All right. Now, when you are going out and you are going through the process of trying to get your animal adopted, there are a series of things that you need to do. First of all, the application. This is what the potential adopter will have to fill out. Everyone needs to fill this out. It does not matter if they're a friend or a family member, somebody that you know and love and trust and whatnot, they still need to fill this out. And something else that's really important is when they fill this out, it gets sent to our group or to Rescue Treasure generic email address. They will forward that email to you as the foster for the animal. Please take care to respond to every application in a timely manner within 48 hours. It's something that Rescue Treasure is proud of. We are known for being very responsive and not leaving a lot of adopters hanging. So please just make sure that you are you do your due diligence on that. The next item on this list here would be the meet and greet. This is important because this allows you to be able to observe how both the animal and the human interact with each other. This also gives you a chance to learn a little bit more about the applicant. To do this meet and greet, you choose wherever you want to do this event, this meeting. You can do it at one of the stores like Petco or PetSmart or Country Max, or at a park, or you can bring them into your own home. So I like to do that sometimes with the cats because the cats will be a little scared if I were to bring them out, that it doesn't really truly represent the cat well. But I've done that with some other cats who I know wouldn't be fazed by being in a new place. And here's a little note about here. If you choose PetSmart's Greece or Petco in Rondequoit, Rescue Treasure does earn extra chances at donation from the store. With your applicants, if they already have previous animals in the house, you need to call their vet. But before you do that, you need to have them to call their vets first and give them permission to be able to talk to you. You cannot call the vet and ask for information about that adopter without them releasing information or giving them permission to be able to release information to you. And this is just for you to be able to make sure that their current pets are up to date on their vaccine and they have been altered. The landlord checks, that's another item that you should do. Now, this is only for those who are renting their home, not for those who own their own home. You want to make sure that the landlord is okay with them adopting a pet. And the last thing here, the home visit. This is for you to ensure that the home is a safe place for the animal. You want to make sure that it's not, a bad situation or they're not trying to hide other animals in the house. It is mandatory for dogs. It is optional to do a home visit for cats. And there's a checklist of all these items in here. That's also on the foster page. All right, you got to the day of adoption day. So this is always a bittersweet day for all of us. This is where we say goodbye to our fosters, but at the same time, we're shedding happy tears because they get to go home to their forever home and their forever families. When you do the adoption, either you have the adoption packet where there may be like a carbon copy of a form where you could fill out the form and they fill out the form, and there's a 2-sheet to the form. You can rip it off and they get their original copy. They get the white one and you get the yellow one. If you don't have that carbon copy form in the adoption packet that you can print out, just print out 2 copies of the adoption form. You would just have to fill it out twice. And you want to make sure that on the form you write the microchip number on the top of the form. Make sure that they sign and date it. And then the other thing is that when they adopt the animal, you need to explain to them that they are the ones that need to register the microchip under their name. Until they do that, it's going to be registered to us. So you want to make sure that they have it. So the cat or dog gets lost, it will be traced back to them. We do have a web page on our website that explains on how to register the microchip, and it's also in the adoption packet. But right here, I do have the link here, which is rescue-treasure.com microchip. If I were to click on here, it takes me to that site, and you can see that there are instructions on what to do on how to adopt or how to register the microchip. For dogs that are 6 months and older, they do need to be licensed in the adopter town. They will need to do that at the town hall, so please remind them to contact their town hall for details. All medical paperwork that the foster has done, has received under your care, make sure you're saving every single one of those paperwork. And before you give it to them, make sure you're scanning and making copies of those paperwork. The adopters get the original copies. We keep the copies and scans of them. And the last thing that you want to do is make sure you collect the adoption fee. We do collect the fees in 3 different ways. We can do cash, we can do checks made out to Rescue Treasures Pet Adoption, or we can do it through PayPal that's on our website. If the adopter chooses to use PayPal, please make sure that you collect the confirmation details of that payment before leaving. And when they, you go to your, the Rescue Treasure website, there's a link that it says donate to Rescue Treasures. Here, let me go over here and let me go to the home. Now I'm on the home page and you see there's a donate with PayPal right here, and that's going to take you to the form of how to log in with PayPal and make the and you choose how much what the adoption fee is. And what you want to make sure is that you can add special instruction to the seller. And you can do like a screenshot of the confirmation page for your records. After the adoption is done, let Scott know for cats and let Nicole know for dogs that they have been adopted. Make sure you include the adopter's name and again, that microchip number so we have this on record. You need to mail in an adoption, the adoption contract, the adoption fee, the money that you collected, and the scans and the copies of the medical records right away. We don't have to have both the scan and the copies of the medical records. If you scan them and you can email them in, that's good. But the hard copy of the adoption contract must still be submitted. And you could submit it to Nicole or Scott or Ann for our record keeping. For dogs, please also make sure that you put the dog's name, the age, and the breed in the email subject line when you're emailing Nicole this. And also for dog fosters, after a couple of days after the adoption's been done, please check in with the adopter to make sure to see how that dog is doing and how it's adjusting to his new home. And that is all I have to share. So I hope you found this presentation helpful and informative. And again, please always feel free to reach out to any one of the admins or share questions and concerns on the Facebook secret group foster page. And other than that, happy fostering. Thanks, guys. Bye.